RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. We encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio, my co-host, M3. I hope everyone's having a lovely day and that you had a wonderful weekend and a great holiday as well. I want to say thank you to all the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Thank you to everyone who's been hanging out, waiting for the show to begin. If you wouldn't mind, everybody, please consider liking and sharing this broadcast. And we're about to begin in just a moment. Just sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Hey guys, I want to talk to you very frankly about the increasing civil unrest we're seeing in America these days. You can't turn on the news without hearing about more riots, violence, looting, killings, lawlessness, and general mayhem in too many cities, and now it's creeping into the suburbs. Sadly, I think the worst is yet to come. This isn't stopping anytime soon. The political animosity in our country is unlike anything we've ever seen in our lifetime. It's escalating rapidly, and the crescendo could be very painful. Therefore, this will certainly be the greatest survival challenge we've ever faced. Don't feel bad if it seems that you're almost powerless to stop it. We're all in the same boat, and a lot of people feel that way. However, I want to focus your attention on what you can do to survive. Priority number one in times like this is to make sure you have enough food to eat. If and when the system falls apart, you're going to need it. And I'm not trying to scare you, I just want to prepare you. You see, those who know what's coming are using today to protect themselves and their loved ones from the uncertain future we all face. I know you're not willing to be a victim, but these days, anything can go wrong at any time. And that's why self-reliance and emergency preparedness are vital requirements, no matter who you are. If you know me, you know I fully endorse my Patriot Supply. They are the only source I personally use and trust to get through the tough times ahead, and you should too. Right now, you can save $100 on a full 4-week supply of delicious, nutritious meals your whole family will love. My Patriot Supply makes it easy to be prepared at all times, and saving $100 off a full 4-week supply of food is just too good a deal to pass up. The future is so uncertain. I urge you to go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. Do it now. Tomorrow might be too late. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Occam's Razor. Methods, how are you today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm fully rested. Didn't really want the weekend to end, but
I feel you.
You know, is what is. I see a lot of good people in the chat, a lot of our normal friendly faces, or I guess names for that matter. Hope everybody's doing well. Had a great weekend. How are you, Red Pill?
I'm doing well, you know, also feeling rested and relaxed. I'm ready to get back to it. I wanted to just do a thank you real quick. Larry had made me these bullet pens, and I mentioned them the other day, but I didn't have them with me. So you can see this one is made out of a bullet and a .410 shotgun shell right there. That one twists to open up. These are like very high quality custom pens. This one is like a bolt action rifle. You pull it back like that, and there you go. I believe that is, I don't know, maybe that's walnut or some other type of wood, but that's gorgeous. And then this last one is a bolt action. So you can see right there, you pull that bolt and then the pen comes out. So thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate that. And, you know, just one more bit of housekeeping. I've gotten a lot of emails over the last couple of days from people letting me know that YouTube has canceled their membership. And I'm sorry to say this again. I know that many of you are already aware, but I was demonetized back in May. So anyone who had a membership on this channel hasn't had a membership since that time. And the only thing that's surprising to me is that YouTube is only now refunding your money. So just remember, guys, if you get an email saying that your membership has been canceled, it's been canceled. It's been over for a long time. That's why I don't have super chats. That's why I don't get commercial revenue. That's why, you know, we have regular donations through Cash App and PayPal. I appreciate everybody letting me know, but don't worry, you don't need to feel obligated to go ahead and do it. And if something changes, then obviously, you know, I'll announce it on the channel. But, you know, that's basically it. So thank you very much for allowing me to do that, Methods. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's completely fine. I'm just over here looking at the pens I have on my desk, and now they're all disappointing.
Aren't they though? I mean, I don't think I can use another pen. I've been using these like lots of excuses to write over the last week. It's you know, it's a good thing. And these are, I mean, they're beautiful though. Like Larry, you guys, Larry makes these pens and sells them, and I think that he can make like whatever you want. But they're pretty awesome. You know, I mean, like these are definitely going to be the pens of choice for Red Pill 78. Good stuff. I'll try to find his website and send that off. Oh, hey, remember Methods when somebody was talking about that Secret Societies magazine?
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Somebody, they must have went to Home Depot or whatever, and they sent it to me. And sure enough, it does have a whole section about our favorite Anon. It's called Web of Secrets, and yeah, so it goes through the conspiracy of the deep state and how we are fighting against it in this movement. I mean, there's all kinds of secret societies. I mean, every single one that you can imagine: Knights Templar, the Oddfellows, Masons, you know, and it just goes on and on. I guess I didn't realize until I saw this how many secret societies there are, but I mean, that's the way of the world. It seems like we've had secret societies for as long as there has been society. People working in the shadows, and you know, that's what the show is about, exposing the truths of the world and asking people to operate in the light. And one thing that happened very recently, which, speaking of operating in the light, you know, California has had some incredibly draconian restrictions upon the people living there. You can't go to church, but you can go to a strip club, if I'm not mistaken. You can't get your hair cut, but, you know, you can go buy beer. Whatever you want to do. It's clear that the government in California is pushing people in a certain direction, you know, with their treatment of citizens versus their treatment of illegal aliens, the treatment of businesses, you know, gyms in California. That's another one that have been closed. Government-operated gyms, however, have been allowed to operate. So if you are a privately owned fitness facility in California, then you're probably out of business. And, you know, I mean, it seems like a socialist type power grab by the government of California. Obviously, they don't want you to worship, because if you go to church, then you're going to have you know, some hope. You're going to be able to operate your faith and meet other people and maybe talk about how weird this situation is and, you know, why it just doesn't seem right. But more than 12,000 Christians defied the governor of California, and they met for a service, and it was at the state capitol in Sacramento, California. So what happened there? Did they like officially call it like a peaceful protest or something?
I imagine so, and I've seen some footage of that, but I just wanted to make sure we bring that up because we, just like what you're talking about with California in general, how you could do what I guess Christians would consider sins, when it comes to like abusing alcohol or going to strip clubs and all that stuff. They're allowing those things to go on and it's fine, but you can't meet for church. And that's why we talk about the battle between good and evil. They don't want to have Christians uniting, praying with each other for this country, for the nation, for the president, for each other, for, everybody involved. They don't want people gathering to do that. That specifically leans into the spiritual realm and, having that going on. And that's why it's so important. And I'm not saying like this show is church or any of the other ones, but we are gathering together and still trying to do that. It's still very important. But the fact that there are people that are saying, you know what, it is my God-given right to worship with my fellow man and woman in public and it's great to see, because I do believe throughout all this, even though we're in the middle of seeing all this chaos going on, we're going to be getting to a point where faith is going to be building even stronger. And I believe that we're going to have, I guess, for a word for many people from church would be revival. I think we're going to have that. I think we're seeing it happen already. We talk a lot about how more spiritual a lot of us have become over the last few years alone. And I believe that we're just getting started. I think it's going to become a lot bigger. And I don't know, man, you could see the light at the end of the tunnel, even though we're in the middle of, I don't want to say middle of the storm, but you get my point.
Yeah. Real quick, Patrick in the chat asked us to pray for his dog, So-So. They're getting put down today. Patrick, I'm so sorry. There's nothing worse than having to put down a pet. But I want to show a clip from this demonstration, this worship service, because it shows that it is possible to meet in large groups of people and not destroy public property or set businesses on fire. So let me go ahead and show this. Go ahead. This is about 12,000 people, they said, all waving flags, raising their hands in prayer. Not a single one violent or destructive. And, it's staggering in its ignorance. The fact that California doesn't want people to do this. They don't want people to assemble peacefully. They only want people to assemble so that they can cause fear and destruction. I mean, it's the juxtaposition of this scene, 12,000 people meeting, standing side by side, hands in the air, and then next to the footage that we've seen coming out of all these major Democrat-run cities and states. I mean, it's perplexing to me that that people are not doing this more often. Like the only way that we're going to get this to stop is if we start agreeing to, kind of push back on them, I think.
Right. I mean, last time I checked, I haven't seen footage or anything of a church where somebody set their own shoes on fire with a Molotov cocktail.
Never. Probably the best meme of the weekend, by the way. Seeing all the various songs that were set to that scene, that really made my day.
Right. Now, it was very fun to wake up to and see going on. But with that said, it's like we always say, it's that obvious of, the split in between what they're allowing to happen and then what their words say, what needs to happen. We're not allowed to, because of this virus that we're learning every week now, more information on how it's not the threat that they say, and it's not the level of the threat that we've been screaming for months now. We said there's no way that this is that big of a deal. We're to the point of calling it a hoax. But if we dare say that, social media goes to censorship. We get called crazy. They take your accounts down. They put little disclaimers to talk about how you're wrong that link to CNN or something.
Right.
But now we have these numbers, and they're just gonna act like it never happened and moved on. That's why we have to keep fighting and doing this. If you have the opportunity to go, a great example would be all the boat rallies going on. The boat. What would you call it?
Boat parade.
Parade. I couldn't find that word for some reason. But having these things is showing that we could still be peaceful. We can still do that. There's still patriotism. We're still unified, even though if you turn on the TV or get it on any social media platform, it doesn't feel like that. It's just constantly problems and stress and all that. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit on how they're laying all this at the feet of the president. We know this is all about the election. Yeah. Why does this stuff have to happen during an election year? Yeah.
I mean, it's because they have to stoke the fear. They have to make people feel that it's not safe to go outside. And unfortunately, some of these places, it's not safe to go outside. I mean, I wouldn't be walking the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin, or the streets of Portland or Seattle. And I really feel for the residents of those cities because, I mean, who wants to live like that? These governors and these mayors have just completely failed their constituents. Now, thinking about what they've done, how they've been acting, the way that they have been completely disrespectful not only to our country and our president, but our Constitution. They have forgotten their oath to the Constitution, and they're not protecting the people of their cities and states. Now, I saw this really interesting video from Bill Still over the weekend. Actually, Hogg sent it to me, and Bill breaks down the 14th Amendment. It was a comment from a viewer, and essentially, the 14th Amendment was written in the wake of the Civil War in an effort to basically make sure that the events that led to the Civil War would not happen again in this country. And ironically, we're almost at the point where we have the same type of events taking place right now. You've got people like Nancy Pelosi calling President Trump an enemy of the state, saying that the people that support him they're not upholding their oath to the Constitution, and they're actively inciting people to riot. And in some cases, people like Kamala Harris are actually bailing these people out of jail. They're using money from Democratic donors to bail these people out of jail so that they can continue to riot and to instill fear in the people of their cities. Well, the 14th Amendment only has 5 sections, and it's not particularly long. But there is this section right here, Section 2, which talks about the representatives for the people of each state, how they're counted, and it states that that members of the legislature are denied any male inhabitants of the state being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States if their rights are abridged, except in participation in rebellion. So if they engage in a rebellion or other crimes, then their representation shall be reduced. So the idea is that these representatives of these states are encouraging people to engage in rebellion, and based upon the language of the 14th Amendment, their representation can be taken away. Now, there was another section which details talk about the payment of reparations, how they're null and void. If people are asking for reparations, you don't have to pay them. Also, the debt incurred by the destruction from a rebellion in these areas is not the responsibility of the government of the United States. So it's not going to be passed on to the taxpayers, but rather it's the responsibility of the rebellion itself or the people leading the rebellion. So the only way that the representation for these various areas can be restored is by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. And since we control the Senate, then there's no way that there's going to be a return to power by these people. So Nancy Pelosi could be removed from office, and the representation of states like California, Oregon, Washington, New York could be removed, and they could be considered to be rebellious insurrections, and there could be, a lot that could take place if they choose to use the 14th Amendment. Now, are they going to do that? I don't know, but I can tell you that right now President Trump is telling these areas that are hit hardest by the rioting and the looting that they can go pound sand, that he's not going to give federal funds to these cities and states to repair the damage that was allowed to happen by the governors, by the mayors. And if you look at the way they've behaved, I mean, I would tend to believe that they have, yes, engaged in insurrection against the United States, and that they have foregone their oath to the Constitution.
100%. Sorry, we have a new queue, and
I just saw that. Yep.
Yeah, the chat has let us know plenty of times, so we appreciate you guys for that. Yeah, I mean that would make sense to follow the Constitution and go about it that way if they are using funds, allowing and basically creating the environment for insurrection, rebellion, and all of that, then they would need to have all that stripped away. We've all been saying that. What Red Pill's been reading here is how it's based in the Constitution for that to be a thing. Now, does that get used in this case? We don't know. We don't have the magic 8-ball for the future, but we'll see how that plays out. But he's definitely got a point there. But unless you got anything else to add, do you want to jump into this? Because people seem pretty excited.
That's exactly what I was planning on doing. All right, so we got post 4635 here with a repost of post 940 showing the amazing similarities between the 1933 paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany and the 2017 paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party of America. Isn't that funny? It's slightly different, but it looks exactly the same, and they both say anti-fascist action. Coincidence? I think not. Now, our favorite Anon says, history repeats itself today regarding irregular warfare, regarding tactics deployed versus America. Compare and contrast then and now. And then we're given an article from the Encyclopedia of Britannica. And it talks about that famous German organization which caused all that trouble back in WW2. Now, going back to the post, then, methods of violent intimidation deployed by SA. Now, methods of violent intimidation deployed by the Antifa. Then, battles raged in the streets, book burning, flag burning, destruction, hate, anti-police, etc. Now, battles raging in the streets controlled by the Democratic Party sympathizers, anti-republic. Then, physical assaults on political opponents. Now, physical assaults on political opponents. Then, voter intimidation in national and local elections. And now, voter intimidation in national and local elections, coming November 3rd. Then, project anti-fascist platform, reality, conform, obey, strong-arm tactics deployed to silence opposing views. Now, project anti-fascist platform, reality, conform, obey, strong-arm tactics deployed to silence opposing views. Then, radical anti-capitalistic platform, which was socialism. Now, radical anti-capitalistic platform, which is, again, socialism. Then, forced economic destruction as recruiting division tactic to drive enlistment rate. Now, Democratic Party governors and mayors close states, which forces economic hardship, C-19. Then, SA carried out unchecked street violence against Jews and the opponents of the Nazis. Now, Democratic governors and mayors carried out unchecked, deliberate non-prosecution orders and 24-hour release of Antifa rioters arrested of street violence and block-by-block takeovers, as in the Chaz. The Democratic governors and mayors release of violent criminals, many thousands, from prison under the guise of this beer bug. And then it takes us to another article from Encyclopedia, and it's talking about propaganda of those guys in Germany. And, obviously, the Dems are pretty good at propaganda, and we've talked at length on the channel before about the success of the Nazi propaganda and my theory that the absorption of those propagandists after World War II into the U.S. government by Project Paperclip could very easily have brought us to this very moment. I mean, those people's ideology just didn't change when they became part of the American government, when we brought over all of those German brains into the United States intelligence agencies. They just became American, and then they continued on. But I think that their true goal was to take over America. Now, the use of propaganda by Nazi Germany, use of propaganda by MSDNC and social media, control of the narrative, terminate opposing message, censorship kill. What are we seeing on a daily basis? Soros history. George Soros, we're all well aware of his history. the assault on America. Ask yourself, why are Democratic Party leaders refusing to condemn the violence? Because they explicitly condone it. It is good for them. Ask yourself, why are Democrat Party leaders refusing to seek a unified republic? Because a unified republic is bad for business. It was never about the virus and always about the election. Was the Nazi Party ever truly destroyed? The answer is no. Did the belief carry on redeployed? Yes, it certainly has. And what is the background of George Soros? Then we've got a video here. Let's go ahead and see what that is.
It's from the Sum of All Fears.
Okay. We don't want to get it.
Yeah, you don't want to play it for sure.
Yeah.
It's titled "This Virus is Airborne."
Ooh. Very nice. So yeah, the Sum of All Fears, basically, it has the bad guys. They are Nazis, and they are trying to destroy America and take over. They want to detonate a nuclear bomb, and I think they actually do, if I'm not mistaken. Then the next post, they are being forced into the light for all to see. And then we have another video. Let's go ahead and see what that is real quick.
It's a song, so you don't want to play that either.
All right, we won't play it. But it's Mac Richter on the nature of daylight. Okay, so very appropriate for the theme. Keep faith in humanity. Keep faith in yourself. Light of the world. Awesome. So, I mean, I feel like this post is fairly self-explanatory. I mean, the tactics we're seeing deployed today are the same tactics that were deployed in pre-war Germany and during the war. When those people came here, they just had to take a couple of decades to regroup and then basically re-implement the same tactics and slowly destroy America. Maybe they had to push their timeline up a little bit because Donald Trump came into office. Maybe they obviously they never thought that he would be able to win. They thought they were going to be able to cheat their way through it yet again, and that Donald Trump was never going to be a threat to them. However, they underestimated the resolve of the American public and the popularity of Donald Trump. People have been oppressed in this country in so many ways for so long, and they thought they had us beat. But I'm going to tell them that they got another thing coming, basically.
Yeah, and of course they would have used these tactics under, a controlled presidency, because think about how that plays out. Outside of all the attacks that they've had to do on Trump, let's use this virus, for example. You have this virus happen. It was an accident. They might have probably blamed Russia for it, but, is what it is. And then anybody that would have stepped up against it would have been like, let's say a few Republican, people in Congress, they would have been called the conspiracy theorists. They would have been called crazy.
Right.
You've got the president, which would have been Hillary. I know people cringe when we bring that up, but that was a timeline that almost happened, and having her say it's fine. And then all of us standing up and saying, we don't believe it. And now we're still conspiracy theorists. And then they come around and say, all right, we are the domestic terrorists. And they come pick us all up. You can see the writing on the wall. And for anybody that was following I want to say conspiracy theory stuff, but this kind of stuff, think about before the election. Think about the stuff that was being said back then that was being called crazy, with the empty Walmarts, the caskets and fields by the thousands that were empty out there. You put all this in play. Jade Helm, if you remember those times. You put all that in context of what would have been done if we had all these things that were happening in 2020 alone under a Hillary Clinton presidency, and it's all fully controlled like that. Then it makes us, I want to go back to all the friends I lost in 2013, 14, and 15.
Right.
When I would talk about all this stuff and they would just tell me, I need to get help to, say, hey guys, you remember this? I wasn't joking. Here's me from 5 years in the future. But, that's why, you have to accept that reality, and you have to also accept how the public, who hasn't paid attention to any of this for a long time, if not ever, it's hard for them to grasp that kind of reality. And then when they see us talking about these things like, oh yeah, we all said it was going to come, Agenda 2030, all this stuff, then that, or 230 or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's 2030.
2030. That to them sounds so crazy because they haven't even dipped their toes in the water of this stuff. But as we've seen this play out even more, if anything, I hope a lot of people feel, justified or like a pat on the back, like they actually, I wasn't that crazy back then thinking this stuff when I had way less resources,
right.
And definitely not a unified movement of people that are sharing information.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's quite staggering to look back and see how all of this stuff was played out. And to think if President Trump hadn't come into office, we would have probably all been rounded up, literally. We would have been the residents of those giant Walmart FEMA camps. We would have been buried in mass graves in those giant coffins with our entire families. And we would have been the danger to the society. Now they're trying to play that out. They're trying to pin us as some dangerous, radical subsegment. But, I mean, the truth is, they are the ones who are the dangerous subsegment to society. They're the ones who are out there destabilizing things. All we're doing is talking and asking people to take a look and truthfully, evaluate this stuff. Look at what's actually happening and then look at what they're saying. And it's just so crystal clear where they're going with this, what they've been trying to do, what they've been trying to accomplish all these years. And President Trump is destabilizing that, and he's going to flip the tables. We're in the midst of it right now. I saw somebody in the chat earlier say, when is Soros going to be arrested? Enough is enough. We are not in the DOJ, all right? These people are smart enough to have thought ahead and to have planned, all right? President Trump and his administration, they're working on this in the best way they possibly can. Imagine how much has to be undone. Imagine how many plans have been put in place by these people and how far ahead they thought. There is a contingency plan for the contingency plans, and we've got both sides playing against each other. This is war. Okay, this is major strategy putting in place in front of our very eyes. And, I am not arrogant enough to say that I know any better than the people at the DOJ or that these military leaders, the generals, military intelligence, all these people, they know what's going on. We are just armchair observers. It's like people watching the show and saying, why don't you do it this way? Because I'm right here right now. That general, President Trump, they're all in the place right now with the best possible information. They know what they're doing. We have to allow it to happen.
Right, and just for everybody that's been joining over the last 10 minutes or so, still seeing it, we just went over those posts, the two that have came through. If any more come through Red Pill, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the boards, and we'll jump to them when we can on that. But we just went over them, so after the show, just rewind a little bit. You guys can catch that. But yeah, you're right. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what would make that reasoning. And so I try to remind myself and others that get frustrated, say, what if there was a piece of evidence that didn't need to be public and it was justifiably so? If they were able to pull you aside and give you some piece of evidence of this is why we have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And it was so on point that you're like, I get it. Now imagine if that's the case, then why, anytime me and Red Pill and anybody else that does these kind of shows, we get asked that question, why isn't so-and-so arrested? And I feel like it's a rhetorical question all the time because I have no way to answer it. I don't know, but there's more information out there on the reasoning why behind this. Part of the reason why I think it needed to be pushed even further along is because of this virus stuff. Think about how they would have been able to control the people that are asleep through the fear of this virus. Imagine if they had done the arrests and stuff in January. Mm-hmm. And then now a few months later, they're losing their livelihoods. Their buildings are shut down. They can't work. They're having to move, stuff like that. They're trying to make ends meet. Do you think they're really going to care about some FBI agents being arrested for doing things to the president when the media keeps telling them that it's the president's fault and why they don't have their jobs?
Right.
We fall in. That's, to me, there is a strategic way about it. Me and Red Pill still have faith entirely, but we do ask ourselves those kind of questions, like why wouldn't it be this way, that, or the other? But we don't have that information. And if we had the information, us, like you said, armchair observers, then every enemy would have that information, and that just wouldn't be good. So we'd love to answer it, but we really can't.
I actually have a theory, and it's based on the plot of The Sum of All Fears. This is something that Q has made reference to on a number of occasions. What if they can't just go out and arrest people right away or at this time because there actually is a nuclear device that had been lost at some time in the past, and it is hidden someplace in a major American city. Okay, I mean, nuclear devices have gone missing over the course of the last several decades. I mean, it's just happened, not just here in America, but in like the USSR, and especially after the fall of Russia back in the mid '80s. I mean, this is a very real fear. I mean, that seems like something they would do, doesn't it? I mean, Tom Clancy's been kind of dead on a lot of different things. What if there is a nuclear device that's in play someplace, and they're in the midst of trying to track it down and to, get it out of the hands of the bad guys? Because what if the whole plot is that they go into start arresting people, and one of these former Nazis from Project Paperclip, or the child of one of these people who came over, has possession of this device, or it's hidden someplace and multiple people have access to it, and they can just push a button and set it off. President Trump certainly would not want to take that chance. He would not want to allow a mass casualty event like that to destroy an American city, to make a portion of America uninhabitable. That would have to be something that would have to be taken care of. That's just a theory.
Right. And yes. I'll be honest, and I know people say all the time that me and Red Pill like echo chamber and agree with each other all the time. To me, I can't fully sink my teeth into that theory entirely, but in the same vein of that going on, like we talk a lot about spiritual warfare. Imagine having to have things so strategically in place when it comes to judges, when it comes to military being in place, National Guard type stuff. Because as soon as they make any move, imagine, I mean, some people call it MK Ultra. I like to lean towards demonic possession. Imagine that activation of sleeper cells and how many lives could be lost in the streets. They already have no problems doing what they're doing now, rioting, looting, attacking cops, doing all that stuff. Imagine if the demons were just let loose and they went around, full-blown assaulting people in their homes and doing all that stuff. And it would, and our president doesn't want to make a move that's going to cost American lives. Yeah. That to me would be, I know we might sound crazy, but this is Occam's razor. This is where we talk about theories and bring it back to the reality that the best we can. But we don't know what all their plans are, but we're talking about when we talk about them, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, we're talking about the most evil, sadistic, connected to Lucifer people on the planet, because they made it to the top of the greatest country in the world. Now, I hat tipped everybody in our international family. We're just talking about the power of America itself. They would make their ways to the top and have control of it. So we're talking about the most deceiving, the most, evil people imaginable that have no problems doing what they've done to this president, to the
straight psychopaths.
Exactly. That made their way to it. They just know how to talk to a camera and they know how to sell it. That's how they got that far. So you have to, if they're willing to drag us through a lockdown of the country where lives are ruined, families are being divided over this stuff, all these problems. Do you think that they don't have even more sinister cards in their back pocket that they intend to use? And we would have to be monitoring them and going into it. So it is what it is. And we have to kind of accept that, that reality. And we might have different various theories and stuff going on. I saw somebody said that the song that Q dropped was tied to the movie Arrival. So I imagine we'll be getting alien decodes and stuff like that here soon, which is fun. Y'all have fun with that. It's cool with me. But so there's all these different ways it could go, but ultimately we have to keep our faith in God, or keep faith in whoever you believe in. That's fine, and just keep moving forward and having faith and doing what we do, and that's all we can do.
Yeah. And I just want to be very clear. I'm not saying that theory is like exactly what's happening. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because of the plot of The Sum of All Fears, and it's something that's been brought up before. So anybody who thinks I'm crazy for just doing a thought exercise, man, you must live in a really boring world. Let's let's go ahead and move on. So Joe, before we move on here, we got 4,200 people here hanging out with us, listening to us say crazy conspiracy theories. Really appreciate it. 1.5 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue or whatever color it is for you, that'd be great. And thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal and Cash App. That's right. Okay, Lisa Lady, I saw that you sent an email, but I took a couple days off, so I wasn't reading my email. So, now I'm back at work, and you can expect that I will get back with you within the next couple of days. You guys, just so you know, I get so many emails, and when I go try to take a couple days off, I'm not reading any of my messages. I have to separate myself from the work sometimes. Okay, so Donald Trump is running against Joe Biden. Joe Biden sometimes seems like he's running against himself. He is his own worst enemy, and the things that come out of his mouth, really, I mean, it's very, very clear that he has devolved into a primordial goo, something that is a shadow of his former self. Let's go ahead and listen to this clip where he claims that thousands of Donald Trumps have been chanting defund the police.
He didn't. That was my explanation of it. But yeah, just go and play the clip. You'll see what I mean.
Okay.
The only person calling to defund the police is Donald Trump. Look at his budget. He calls for cutting police funding for state and local help by $400 million. Once again, he's pathological.
What? So how did he come to that? How did he come to the idea that Donald Trump wants to defund the police? I mean, and does he honestly think that's going to work? That he's just going to say that Donald Trump is seeking to defund the police and then people are going to believe it? I mean, Joe Biden he's insane at this point.
Yeah, earlier on, before that part of the clip, the reason why it was brought up is because he was being accused of wanting to defund the police, because Joe Biden's even said he would do that.
Yeah.
We've seen the clip shared everywhere. And then that was his response, was that, no, I'm not the one doing it. It's Trump. And I mean, we are all old enough to remember people still yelling in the streets, chanting together, defund the police. They're writing it on the streets. They're doing all this stuff. They're protesting. So I hear you, and anybody in this chat will agree with us that this is Joe Biden there couldn't be a worse candidate at this point, if you think about it, because he's everything that they try to say that they're against. They're saying that we need diversity and all that stuff. He's an old white dude. He can't speak clearly at all whatsoever. Can't remember anywhere where he's at. And this does feel like, it feels like we're all being tricked. Doesn't it feel like this is like a big trick on everybody, and they're just going to step out and be like, surprise, we were joking. Joe Biden isn't really, but every day they keep selling it, and we're less than 60 days away from the election. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we've got Joe Biden saying stuff like this on a daily basis, it's like, there's no way, even to me, even if they cheat just a little bit in the election, there's no way anybody could be like, I'm voting for Joe Biden. If they really, really care about this country, or at least their personal lives, make it selfish about your personal well-being, and you pay a little bit attention to the actual, stuff going on, there's no way you can vote for Joe Biden.
No, and the polling, the internal polling of his campaign and the Democrats and even CNN, it's really pointing to the fact that all of their messaging has just destroyed any possibility that they may have had of getting elected. We had Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo, the meathead, making fun of people who were making this argument, like, oh, cities are being destroyed. Oh, people's cars are flipped over and set on fire. People's businesses are closed, and then finally John Lemon being like, oh, wow, the Democrats are missing this. This is a blind spot for the Democrats. And Joe Biden clearly flip-flopping from, oh, you guys, I just lost the Zoom call. Wow. Okay. Did I just lose internet? You guys, give me a 5x5 in the chat if you can hear me. We're trying to get Zoom back up and get Methods back on the line. Five by five. Can anybody hear me? 5x5. Give me a 5x5 in the chat. Can you guys hear me? Great. All right, and I'm bringing Methods back on. All right, it's the return of Occam's razor. Okay, great. I don't know what happened there. We lost Zoom, and looks like everything shut down for a second. But we are back. Beautiful. Okay,
I got an epic screen cap of your face when it froze on my end.
Great.
I'll keep it private. I won't put it out publicly. But to me, it was perfect timing.
Good stuff. So, Joe Biden realizes that the messaging that he's been putting out is not going to get him elected, okay? The Democrats realize that everything they've done is essentially going to get Donald Trump elected. And obviously, they're going to try to steal the election. They're going to try to, work around that. But I feel like the majority of America is... Okay, now it says I'm not experiencing enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, guys, I don't know why I am having problems with my internet. We're just going to keep going, and hopefully it's going to work. But apparently they don't want us talking about this stuff. Methods, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know why this is happening, but... Anyways, so lots of people are realizing that Joe Biden is, he's past his prime. And, yeah, look, it was something I said. It was definitely, no, Lisa, it wasn't, I have to take time off. I mean, like, I need to have a day off of work. And when I take days off of work, I don't listen to my email. I don't read my email. I mean, I've got, like, real life stuff that I have to do in addition to doing the shows. So, no, you've done nothing wrong. So just please... I will get back with you when I'm like not doing other things.
Sometimes Ripple doesn't get back to me for a few days, and I do.
Yeah, I mean, this goes for anybody. If I don't immediately answer your message, it's not you, it's me. I have like a lot of stuff that I'm doing, okay? And it has nothing to do with you. Like half the time I don't even actually read my messages right away. I read them like once a week. It's because I have so many of them coming in and, doing oftentimes 2 shows a day. And then I have other activities that it takes to run this channel that you guys don't see publicly. It's a lot of work, and to be quite honest with you, like, I need help, but I can't afford to have anybody help me. So, like, I'm working on my own, and that's just what it is, So, yeah, please, everybody, don't be hurt by the fact that I'm not immediately answering your messages. It's just a matter of time. So, Joe Biden has been called out by the former White House stenographer. This was under the Obama administration, Methods?
Think so.
Yeah.
I think it might be somebody working with him now. I'll look real quick.
Okay. So, well, no, it's Mike McCormick. It says that they worked together in 2017. So he was the White House stenographer for 15 years from 2011 to 2017. And he said he's lost a step. He doesn't seem to have the same mental acuity as he did 4 years ago. He doesn't have the energy. He doesn't have the pace of his speaking. I mean, if you look at a clip from Joe Biden from just 2 years ago, it's very, very clear that this is not the same guy. I mean, like, dude has just, he needs to take a nap. I mean, he wakes up in the morning and it's like you can tell the look on his face. He doesn't want to be doing this. He can't keep his thoughts straight. I mean, he was reading off a teleprompter the other day and he read end of quote, which was like a cue to him. It wasn't supposed to be a thing. Are you still there? Methods? Oh, man.
Mike, check. You're mute.
Testing, testing. There we go. Now I can hear myself. All right, you guys, we're back. It's working. You guys get the idea of what we were talking about. I'm not going to mention his name again. But it's pretty obvious that there is something major going on with Uncle Joe. He is no longer the same elder statesman, if he ever was, but it's becoming increasingly obvious to everybody that's involved, whether you are a casual observer to the election or if you're a longtime Democrat ally.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we've probably said enough about him on all that. And as far as this internet stuff going on with you, I saw a lot of outages earlier.
Okay.
And even my internet dropped out. So I'm not all that surprised. But then again, they don't like it when me and you say the kind of things we do on the show.
Yeah. So, getting back to the idea of Biden paying attention to the polling, and of course polls lie, they can be easily manipulated, but that doesn't mean that the Dems and the Joe Biden campaign are not paying attention to what, actual people are saying and how they feel about things. Now, he's initially, when he was, taking on the nomination, he said that he and Kamala would institute a national mask mandate. And he's now admitted that that would probably be unconstitutional. And, this is just another clip of him behaving oddly on air. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Sounds like you might want a stronger federal, response to this. And do you trust the governors to handle what's best for their states?
Well, I hope we could trust the governors, but here's the deal. The federal government, there's a constitutional issue whether the federal government could issue such a mandate. I don't think constitutionally they could, so I wouldn't issue a mandate. But I'd plead with, I carry my mask with me everywhere I go. I'd set an example. I'd make sure that, and I understand what's happening. You see what's happening in your state. The numbers are going down because local authorities have taken the responsibility of issuing mandates in their cities and the counties. And fewer people are showing up without masks. The public is taking note of what, in fact, increases the prospect of the virus coming down. And so we need basic social responsibility. And those who talk about my freedom to wear a mask, well, what about your patriotism to protect your neighbor from getting sick because you may be communicating the virus? I think this is such a selfish way to approach things. It's about making sure the public is safe and secure. And that is a local decision, but there should be national standards laid out as to how it should be gone about. You can't mandate that, but to set the example of what need be done.
So that's a major reversal for Joe Biden. And it seems like on all of his major policy points, he's doing the same type of reversal. It's an interesting thing to see. Now, we have some information about the Atlantic article that came out over the weekend. If you haven't seen the information about this article, Jeffrey Goldberg claimed that Donald Trump made some disparaging comments about veterans. He called them suckers or saps or something like that because they were fighting and dying for their country. Now, I personally cannot imagine President Trump saying something like that. We went over it a lot this weekend. But some new information has come forward to show that Jeffrey Goldberg has a long history of writing articles that have zero basis in fact. In fact, back in 2002, he wrote a piece for The New Yorker which falsely linked Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda and exaggerated the Iraqi possessions of weapons of mass destruction. Remember, weapons of mass destruction, the whole reason we went into Iraq and the reason that we took out Saddam and that we destabilized the entire Middle East, they lied to everybody. They tried to link Iraq with the tragedy of 9/11, and then they said that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. All of it was a lie. All of it was a lie. But Jeffrey Goldberg was one of those people who was pushing that narrative. Now, Jeffrey Goldberg also happens to be a big fan of Mario Puzo and The Godfather. So I want you to take a listen to this short clip from Godfather 2, because it sounds like Goldberg lifted the like the very idea for this piece from the plot of Godfather 2. Take a listen.
Hey, real quick before you hit play, I don't remember, but there might be a language warning we need to give.
Okay.
During that clip. So if there is, just letting you guys know.
Yeah, maybe a language warning.
Bunch of saps. How are they saps?
Daddy, come on. We don't have to talk about the war.
Hey, Beep, you talk to Carl, all right?
They're saps because they risk their lives for strangers.
Oh, that's Pop talking.
You're goddamn right.
All right, so yes, they did just drop a GD in there, but it's the exact same tone of the language that Goldberg used. Now, Goldberg was interviewed on Sunday, and he admitted that the central claim of his hit piece on President Trump was probably false. Now, the whole point that President Trump had to reschedule a visit to honor some veterans back in 2018. And this was for soldiers that had fallen in World War I in France. And at the time, they tried to make a deal out of it and say that President Trump was being disrespectful to the veterans. But there was some type of a weather advisory why he wasn't able to go. And Goldberg has now admitted that those things are more than likely true. Now, there's another example of Goldberg talking about the film The Godfather. He was giving an interview on PBS, and he was talking about his love of The Godfather and him having a conversation with Barack Obama about The Godfather. And he's written all of these various articles comparing Donald Trump to a mafia don and trying to make the link between the Italian mafia and President Trump. So it really isn't too far of a stretch to think that Goldberg lifted the idea of this story and just placed Donald Trump into the center of it, because it's something he's done before.
Right. And just like how when we cover different information and stuff, we all kind of refer to the same things that we would all relate to, because we've been looking at the same things for the last several years. We make the same references. We use a lot of the same words. He obviously really appreciates that movie or that series of movies, because he has, and I'm going to drop this link in the chat as soon as I get back over there for you guys to see this thread, this Twitter account, Ghost of Daniel Parker, showed all these different screen caps of the times he's been using these references. And just like how Red Pill was talking about, how he then admitted over the weekend that it was most likely not true, like the main basis of his article. We just remember not even 24 hours before that, maybe 48, he was saying how he has to protect his sources, but he verified it all. The information's trustworthy. And then all the media came to his defense and said, Goldberg has been around for a long time. We could trust him. We need to trust the media. And then within a day, he comes out. He's like, well, some of that may not be true. And it's like, well, then fine, out your sources. Mm-hmm. Who told you that? Then where's your article saying why you were led to believe that and your apology? And I'm sure that we're not going to be getting it, but wouldn't that be how a journalist is supposed to handle it?
Yes, absolutely. That's how they should handle it. But, unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to get anybody coming forward and admitting that they heard President Trump saying this firsthand. He doesn't have any sources. I think he just made this up out of whole cloth. And, this is just how the media does it. This is how they tried to destroy President Trump. I mean, go back to the impeachment with Vindman and his anonymous source telling him that President Trump made this distressing call. It's now come out that it was actually Vindman himself that really was the thrust behind this whole impeachment thing. So was there even a whistleblower? They kind of put that name out there, he who shall not be named, but was it just Alexander Vindman the whole time? I mean, unfortunately, these people are willing to lie and say whatever it takes to try to disparage the president and to try to make people believe that he is some type of terrible human being, when in all actuality, these people are the terrible, despicable people.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just play under the guise of Vindman was the one behind a lot of this and doing that. So he went and spoke. And I don't remember if he was under oath or not, but I guess it really doesn't matter in this days and age. They're still going to do it. And he goes and makes all these claims. It ends up not going through. The Senate doesn't remove the president. And then he quietly, a month or two or a few months later, comes out and says, I'm leaving the military. And he blamed all the attacks on him for what he did, the whole victim card. Isn't that what Yovanovitch, the one that was the at the embassy in Ukraine, didn't she quit over the same thing? Just
Yes.
the attacks and stuff like that. It's the same thing. So so let's just say, we all believe it, that they were at least heavily involved in this hits on the president, trying to remove the president in these cases. And then they go do those things. It doesn't work out for them. And then they blame everybody else. It's the same thing with Nancy Pelosi and getting her hair did. You got caught, you tried something, you got caught, and then you blame and attack the people who are mad at what you did. And we have to, I know that we need to hold people accountable and go about all this stuff, but we need to not be allowing these kind of people into positions of power to begin with. He was in the military for a while, Vindman was allowed to work his way. And I imagine he was that useful idiot that just, pushed things along for various wars or whatever, the military industrial complex type stuff. And the fact that now the president's going in a different direction and calling this stuff out, we can't be having these people in power anymore. And that's why we're all for clearing house. Probably one of the best news things that we've gotten in the past year was him cleaning those 70 people out of the National Security Council.
Oh, yes.
That's huge because those, they've kind of stayed under the radar. I know a lot of us have been calling them out, but the whole National Security Council itself has been somebody who's been causing major problems behind the scenes. They were involved, during the whole Russian investigation stuff that was going on. Remember, the 17 agencies came out and verified that all that was true. National Security Council is involved in all that. It would be the same thing. It would be the same group of people.
And, to add on to that, part of that 17 security agencies, it's been reported by Paul Sperry that John Brennan, former director of the Clowns in America, was actually running a secret task force out of Langley, which is where the Clowns in America are headquartered, with its own separate budget. So a black secret budget to investigate the Trump campaign and their alleged ties to Russia. And it was set up before the FBI officially began its own probe on July 31st of 2016. So we all know that the Clowns in America have been running black operations under the radar, doing whatever they want. What's interesting about this is that this happened before the FBI started their investigation, so they can't say that it happened because of the FBI's investigation. This is Brennan running his own secret hit squad trying to take down the president. And then remember, he was, more than likely a large part of why that the PP dossier was included in all of that information put out by those 17 intelligence agencies. The head of the Clowns in America goes to each of these spy agencies and says, here, I can tell you based upon my own private research into President Trump and my own task force that, yes, in fact, there is a connection between President Trump and the Russians. So the other thing is that obviously the Clowns in America is not supposed to be doing operations on American soil. They are only supposed to be working abroad. So this is a violation of their charter yet again, and just another example of why the Clowns in America needs to be removed. They need to be completely gutted, and something else needs to be put in its place.
Right. And so just like how you brought up how this was going on with the Clowns in America before the FBI started their formal investigation, the dark ops situation is going to be something that's going to need to be talked about in the public forum, because that's one of the major reasons why they targeted Flynn, because Flynn was ready to expose dark money flowing through for clown operations. And he would be able, right now, he'd be a perfect one to go to Congress. Let's say Sperry is bringing this up and we're about to have a full-blown, reveal publicly that the clowns are doing this, because we know that Durham and Durham's investigation is now going before the start of the FBI investigation. So this would be this time period, right?
Right.
So wouldn't it be best for a General Flynn, who was already trying to blow the whistle on this stuff and said he was going to expose it and clean it up, to have him be the one to explain it all to the American people?
Yes.
So they continue to tie him up with all this court stuff, and now we know that they're going to be doing their hearings What, at the end? Yeah, on the same day as what's supposed to be the first presidential debate. How convenient. So that ball's still moving, and it's very slow. But we can't allow this dark money apparatus fueling things behind the scenes for special interests to go on. And if they can expose this with Brennan, that would explain why. Everybody's like, why hasn't Brennan been picked up yet? Well, he's being investigated for more stuff than just his handling and his involvement in the Russia collusion scam that went on. He's been doing this for how long?
Yeah, well, probably as long as he's been there, but even before that, because he had, the, what was that other corporation? Was it the ACT? It
was
ATC?
It was TAS. I just can't remember what it's. Okay. The analysis. No, the Analysis Corporation.
Yeah. Okay. So this has been his specialty. Like running these dark ops and working with private and public entities. So it makes a lot of sense now why Durham waited so long to question John Brennan, because he did the investigation around him so that whatever Brennan said, he would not be able to lie. Or if he did, then they would already have the evidence to point to that. Don't forget, he was interviewed for like 8 or 9 hours. And Brennan... this also throws water all over the idea that Brennan is not a subject of the investigation, that he's only some type of a witness. Because if this is true, and Paul Sperry is pretty good at reporting, the things that he puts out generally come to pass. If Brennan was running a secret Trump task force out of Langley with the clowns in America, that right there is a charge. Okay, that's something that Brennan can be brought to justice for. Real quick, I need to do a couple of quick thank yous. Let's see. Valerie said, thanks for all you do. That was on Sunday, so thank you, Valerie. My buddy Cyrus Parsa, thank you very much, Cyrus. I appreciate that, at the AI organization. Dana Finkler said, if I land Sam, you want to do a meet and greet. Yeah, we can probably do that. But you guys, I'm not trying to do meet and greets all the time. Like, I want to do a couple, but I want to kind of space them out because this is, it's a lot to do. PFM 2020, Natural Lady says, campaign going okay, want to call in. Natural Lady, call in this weekend, either Friday or Saturday. Andrew, what's up, Andrew? Good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much for that. Also need to say thank you to Gino. He says, I DM'd you with a vid regarding Rona deaths in Ireland. Okay, I wouldn't imagine that it would have been too many. We've only had about 9,200 here in America. Gaffer Anon says, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. I think that was in regard to the shutdown of the stream. Thank you very much, Gaffer. Also, Charles, thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate your donation. And then let me just check on PayPal real quick. We'll see if anybody came through there. Let me say thank you very much to Renee. Renee, thank you very much, Renee. Hey, Whitehead, he says, hey, bud, stepping out of the dark for a sec to say hello. Yeah, awesome, dude. Love you, brother. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Michael says, no names, LOA. Wait, no names, LOL. A Papa John's delivery driver and massage therapist sending love from Missouri. They love you guys. Okay, love you too, brother. Thank you very much. David says, YouTube just sent me a refund today. Yep. YouTube just sent me a refund today. So trying this PayPal to be monthly, RP78 for goods and services. Otherwise, they charge 39 cents for, yes. Always make sure you uncheck goods and services, because you're not paying. Like, if I was sending you something in exchange for your donation, that would be like you're buying a goods or service. If you send a donation via PayPal, uncheck goods and services, because it's a donation. You're not receiving anything other than free programming, which you're not getting charged for. KSJ Fine Arts, thank you very much. Albert says, RP, tell Frank I am positive he would absolutely love Texas. I will definitely let him know. Thanks, buddy. And that's it. So everybody, thank you very much for the donations. I appreciate your support of the channel. So we were talking earlier about the Biden campaign, just as an example of the panic that's taking place in there. Kamala Harris just visited Wisconsin. Obviously, she chose Kenosha, Wisconsin, or maybe it was just someplace else in Wisconsin. She chose it because of Kenosha, okay? But then after she does her little press conference, she walked away without taking any questions. I mean, I think that the press is starting to get, they're starting to be a little bit harder with Biden and Harris, because they're seeing that there is an amount of weakness. There's an amount of pushback that's coming from the press. That's something that's kind of unique in today's world. And then also thinking about the Biden crime family, Rudy Giuliani is talking about charging the Biden family with a RICO indictment, because he says they're an ongoing organization which engaged in the continuous business of crime, bribery, extortion, money laundering, and the business is funded by the family monetizing his public status. They've made millions illegally. So, I mean, how great would it be if Joe Biden and Hunter and his brother, if they were all to be charged with a RICO indictment prior to the election? Something tells me that that's not going to happen, because that certainly, I believe, would fall under that kind of DOJ unwritten rule that they wouldn't take any action prior to an election. But, you know, once November 3rd comes and goes, I could certainly see the Biden crime family being charged with something.
Right, and I watched that documentary. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it yet or not, but no. Yeah, which is fine. It's called "Riding the Dragon: The Biden's Chinese Secrets," and it was put out by Blaze TV. We had some free time this weekend, so I figured I'd watch it. And it lays out just how deep the ties of what Hunter was doing, him and Devin Archer, and making deals with companies in China, and how they were involved in many different things. And most of the deals that they made had ties to the Chinese military. Definitely one to watch. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everybody. It's about 40 minutes long. Definitely worth watching, because if you especially make it to the end, they kind of show the 40,000 foot view of all the different connections, because during the documentary, they're naming a company and putting it on a wall, just kind of like how we have the show card for this show. And then they tie the string on who's involved to who. And then at the end, they give you the overview, the bird's eye view, and you just see all these different connections to China. And then now we've got Rudy talking about RICO. And I think that they say, well, a president, Durham is not investigating anybody that's tied to the election. Nothing like that's going. That's what he was saying. Well, Durham's is studying the Russia collusion investigation and going down that route. What happened? Everything that Mueller was doing, everything that was said, Christopher Steele dossier tied to the DNC, all that. That's what Durham's doing. But he didn't say anything about anybody else investigating other stuff. And we know that information has been handed over. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat for you guys right now. I highly suggest watching it, because it helps you understand why China is such a big deal and why Biden's probably running right now. Because if he wasn't running, let's say it was somebody else, they chose one of the other clowns that were, running for that feels like forever ago, watching the debates amongst the Democrats and who they're going to pick. But you could see why Biden is running now, for the guys in cover of how much crime and corruption and financial, just everything the Biden family was involved in. So here's the link one more time, guys.
Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't running, then it's pretty clear that he very easily already could have been swept up into some type of charge for his dealings with China. And here's something that I don't know if people realize, but you can't do business in China unless you're doing business with the Chinese Communist Party, which is the Chinese military. The whole thing, the entire apparatus of Chinese business is owned by the Chinese Communist Party. You can't have a company in China without having it be virtually half owned by the Chinese Communist Party. So, that's why I talked about Disney. That's why I talked about Apple. Anytime they have infrastructure over there, anytime they have factories, anytime they have properties, they're partially owned by the Chinese government. And they've been doing business with this totalitarian regime this entire time. And in many cases, like Joe Biden, they have been illegally profiting from their position within the United States government, selling out this country and giving information to the Chinese government. Joe Biden is just one of many Democrats who his head is going to be on the chopping block very, very soon. Once this election is over, Joe Biden's done. That's it.
I totally agree. I'm getting links and stuff ready to share here at the end of the show.
So Another person that I would assume is connected to China, Adam Schiff. Okay, the Chinese have major interests in California. Obviously, at one point, they were given controlling interests of a lot of American ports. And China is, to Adam Schiff, by his estimation, is not a threat in terms of the election. Obviously, Russia still is a major threat, but not China. China is a benign international interest. But he says that A.G. Barr is lying to the American people about the election threat that China poses. So he was specifically on CNN over the weekend, and he was reacting to a clip of Attorney General Barr saying that China is engaging in the most aggressive election interference. I mean, we've gone over it numerous times on the show. I mean, China is more than likely the greatest existential threat to the future of this country and the freedom of America in general. So the fact that Adam Schiff doesn't believe, or at least publicly is stating that they're not a threat, that leads me to believe that Adam Schiff has his shoelaces tied to China pretty tightly.
Right, and we just had Kamala Harris when she was talking about election interference and saying that there are other countries that are trying to interfere in this election, but she had to make sure to say Russia was number one. Didn't even mention anything about China. That's the same thing going on with Schiff. Schiff is, he is that cog in the wheel trying to stop things from getting in any of that direction. And we all hate him equally, I imagine. And the fact that he's saying those things, if anything, you can appreciate what Schiff says because you can read the doublespeak and know what he's afraid and what he's trying to hide.
Absolutely. I'm seeing people say that there's a new post, and there is, in fact, a new post. It's a repost of post 4373. You are witnessing the greatest coordinated disinformation campaign to ever be launched against the American people. Information warfare, infiltration versus invasion, insurgency, irregular warfare, Democrat efforts to regain power. Now we have a tweet from President Trump, and it says, digital soldiers, #fight back, loyalists, patriots, where we go one, we go all. Let's take a look at President Trump's tweet. See what he says. The Democrats, together with the corrupt fake news media, have launched a massive disinformation campaign, the likes of which has never been seen. They will say anything, like their recent lies about me and the military, and hope that it sticks. But MAGA gets it. Absolutely. Now, tell me that President Trump and our favorite Anon are not working together, at the very least. I mean, because the language of this tweet is so similar to what we've already heard from our favorite Anon. Right here, May 31st, 2020, post 4373, the president echoes the refrain of what was in that post. We know that this is true, okay? We talk about this every single day. We see this every single day. They will do and say anything to disparage the president because they think the American public is stupid. There's a certain portion of the American public who is completely brainwashed, caught up in what the Democrats have been doing. But us, the MAGA generation, okay, we are the patriots and we will not be fooled. We know what's going on and we tear this stuff apart because we know that somebody has to fight back and somebody has to be willing to speak the truth.
Right, and that's why I'm really grateful that we have spent the last few years doing this, because then it gets old. I mean, I remember when we had like our first couple articles come out about us, about, just this entire movement in general. And it was such a big deal, and we saw the flack. And then I would see people say, oh, my parents saw this and they knew I was into this stuff and now it's causing me problems. We've kind of built this tough skin to be able to deal with these attacks. And, our favorite honest said attacks will intensify. Well, they're not kidding. Any day you can get 10, 15 articles about this stuff coming at us and attacking us as well as attacking the president. And that's why it's so important. These next 2 months are going to be hell when it comes to shill attacks, disinformation campaigns, bold-faced lies about stuff, people showing up in your tweets and stuff and just sowing negativity. I'm not calling out anybody in this chat as far as that goes, but I do see it ramping up each show a little bit more. I see comments and I'm like, they're out of context. They got nothing to do with anything going on. They're negative and they're talking trash, and it's on topics we're not even discussing. That I'm seeing going on, not just here, but in many other chats as well. And they're going to continue to do that because they're trying to take you apart. Like, You know how in anybody who's actually seen like a possession where somebody's a demon's being cast out or something like that, or even some movies, what's the possessed demon in the body trying to do? They're trying to discredit God. They're trying to take you apart. They're trying to bring you anxiety in the situation, bring down your faith, demoralizing you. Exactly. So we're getting the same kind of thing on every platform. I can't do an action anywhere, even on my smaller Gab account, where I don't get comments that I'm like, you have no reason to say this other than just to bring me down. There's nothing about this. You're just trying to make my day a little bit worse. And yeah, it's frustrating because me and you and many other people are working really, really hard to bring the truth, do the right thing, help us get past this finish line of the election and then do what we need to do. But at the end of the day, I want to believe that it's just shills. But if people are out there and you're really frustrated and you're tired and you feel like you were being led along and all this stuff, and you genuinely feel that way, I feel for you. Don't make the internet the place where you deposit. We're not the garbage disposal for that. We'll try to be there for you. That's right. But it just gets to be lower. And Georgia Patriot in the chat says, yeah, but shills add to the view count. Yep, that's true.
It's true. I mean, every view's a view.
Right. But yeah, I mean, just if anything, let's look at life right now for the next 55 days or however long we got. Let's get through this. I'd love to take a break. And this past weekend was so much fun that I miss it already. But let's get through this finish line here. Let's work hard every day, get past all this stuff. And you shill people. I'll be nice with the words that I say. You shills out there, try your best, bring your best. We're going to get through this and it'll be fine. And we'll look forward to you crying on November 4th.
And, even more than that, once November 4th comes and President Trump is reelected and we are going to see people brought to justice, I'm still going to invite you to the show. Even if you're a shill and you don't like watching the show, or you watch the show because you just want to leave a dislike and you want to tell me how crazy I am, that's fine. You're welcome here all the same because you're still an American citizen, at least in theory. I mean, you very well could be a global citizen of some other country, but President Trump and the Patriots are still fighting for you. It is for the freedom of every person on the on the face of this planet. So, we just got to keep plugging along. God, methods, the idea of taking an entire weekend off is such a foreign concept to me. Being able, being able to take that one day fully off where I didn't have to make a show and I didn't have to do anything except, enjoy the company of my girlfriend. That was heaven on earth. And I am myself looking forward to this election coming and going so that maybe I can take like a full weekend off or, God forbid, an entire week. We'll see what happens, though. I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right. But we also do really love what we do and hanging out with everybody. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's good to stay, up to speed on what's going on and taking things apart. But with the few minutes that we got left, I'm going to shameless plug Red Pill.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm dropping a link in the chat to the last show that I had, which was our first on my channel, that is, which was the debut of the show that I'm doing with 412 Anon. And I'm dropping a link to that in the chat right now. If you guys don't mind subscribing, checking that out. We have a lot of fun over there talking. Now, he's not going to be around on Friday. He conveniently forgot to tell me, after starting, our debut weekly show that he had a vacation planned for this weekend. But I want it for him, just like how we were talking about here. He's going to come back re-energized and he'll be back for the following show. But this Friday, our buddy White Hat, who we were just talking about earlier, shout out to you if you're still listening, bud. He's going to fill in this Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow we'll be doing our weekly Wednesday show, me and Scott from Woke Societies at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on that channel. So if you guys don't mind subscribing over there, that'd be really, really cool. And then past that, if you guys are looking for something to watch after this, here in about an hour, our buddy 412, who I was just talking about, will be having his daily show Monday through Friday starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I'm dropping that link in the chat for you guys as well.
Excellent. Yes, I see people saying there's a new drop, but there's no new drops that are showing for me yet. We already did the new one, so I don't know if you guys just got into the room or not. But yeah, so if another drop comes up before the end of the show, we'll go over it. So just going back to the idea of the threat of China. Somebody said something about globalism in the chat. We obviously don't support globalism. I mean, we're nationalists. I think that a healthy planet and a healthy, national identity for every single country on the planet is good for the people of this earth as a whole. But make no mistake, I mean, my loyalties lie with this country, our oath to the Constitution, our fellow American citizens. I mean, we are Americans, and if we don't ensure the survival of our own citizens in our country, then, there's nothing we're going to be able to do for anybody else. But, the United States is the global leader of this, society that is the planet Earth. But we are Americans, and that's where our allegiances lie. But many people in the United States government have forgotten that. I mean, Joe Biden made this comment years ago saying that welcoming China into the economic community of the world would be good for the rest of the world. But instead, what they did was steal our intellectual property, steal our industry. They, were enriched in terms of their military. And now we're seeing that play out, I mean, thank God President Trump is bringing industry back and manufacturing back. Thank God we are finally standing up to them in terms of tariffs. But the situation in the South China Sea is a little bit distressing sometimes. I mean, there is, a real standoff taking place. But the United States has really had a part to play in the propping up of China. And if it wasn't for the mistakes of our former elected representatives and presidents, then China would not be in the position they are now to push back against America. And, they have essentially told their citizens that they need to prepare for like a straight up war with America. Okay. I mean, they're ready to go to war. 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of people. I don't know how many of those people are of fighting age and ability, but something tells me that, they're probably getting them ready from a very young age to just be prepared to go to war. Maybe, an all out ground assault on American soil.
100%. I know we're at the end of the time here. We do have another new Q.
Okay.
It's I'll just go ahead and read it. And Anon had replied to Q's last post, and I'm just quoting, "Don't shoot the messenger." The Anon said, "We're kicking digital ass here." Mm-hmm. And then Q responded to that saying, "Modern day, quote, midnight writers. There's a reason they are fighting hard to censor, defame you."
Yeah, because we're pushing back, I mean, if we were to take this lying down, then there's a distinct possibility that they might be successful. But like I said earlier in the show, I mean, we are all tired of being lied to. We're tired of being told what to do, what to think, how to act, how to speak. This is America. We're supposed to have our First Amendment rights. And, I'm going to gut up there and say what I think and what I believe. And I'm not going to allow these, the modern day brown shirts to silence me or make me feel that it's unsafe to do and say what I want to do. And I'm going to make sure that I vote on November 3rd. All right, guys, that's actually the end of the show. I just want to say thank you very much to everybody for being here with us. Methods, tell everybody one more time where to find you.
Right. Everybody knows me probably from Twitter at M2Madness. And then one more time, I'm going to drop a link to my channel for you guys to catch us tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Me and Scott from Woke Societies on my show, Methods to Madness. And thank you guys for hanging out with us again and dealing with all the internet problems that we've had so far.
Yeah, appreciate you guys being here. I will be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. I will talk to you guys then. Thank you very much. And don't forget to leave a like on your way out the door. Back up to where we were when we left the program with the drops in the internet service. So thanks for being here, guys. 2,700 likes, 3,800 people still here. Leave a like on your way out the door, and I will see you at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.